Welcome, Sarpei Kwadey.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and apologies for being late to your listeners out there, um,
And to us.
and to you as well.
Why do you look?
Ultimately,
Why do you look like a farmer?
why do I
Why
look
do I
like?
think you? No, I mean, why do I think you're a farmer?
Because I wear different hats in the entrepreneurial space.
Okay, that's really exciting. So, like farmer and animator as well.
Very interesting combination. At the heart of it all, I'm really passionate about the fact that retelling the African story reshapes the narrative in all corridors.
Yeah.
Even in the entrepreneurial space of agriculture, how we tell the story reshapes the narrative. And there's a lot of synergies that you can find
Yeah.
within the spaces.
So I've actually been on a farm the whole of this week.
Wow, which farm?
Up in Sarpei,
Mm,
with Green Gold Farms.
yes, yes.
So I was shooting a CNN, producing a CNN documentary for them. So I've been up there
Wow.
this whole week, getting all dusty.
Mm,
Like they have huge soybean farms.
yes, they do. They do.
And a lot of technology is involved. So I learned to drive a tractor along with some of the other ladies. That was very exciting.
Yeah,
So how are you?
I'm doing excellent. I'm just a bit tired, but
What have you been up to?
I had an early start today. I was up like 4 a.m. in the morning. I did my regular morning routine.
Which is? Sorry, I'm being really nosy.
Right, right. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Absolutely. I mean, I'm putting myself out there by being
Yeah,
here. So,
yeah.
so I went for a regular morning run, and I hit the gym. Then,
Yeah, you look like a gym kind of, like look at your arms.
well,
Yeah.
we try.
Yeah.
We try. We try. We try.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And afterwards, I had to do my laundry this morning. So
Oh, Charlie, you do use like I went for my run, the gym thing, and then we hear about your draws. Like really?
I had to chip that in, because Charlie, yeah,
What did you have for breakfast today?
I had jollof actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I had jollof and some
That's
very nice grilled chicken.
that is actually that's like a really good meal anytime you eat it.
Exactly. Even at
Some fried
2
plantain
a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. So Thursday night when we finished that, shooting on the farm, we went back and we had jollof, we had TZ, we had like a really good feast, and then we went to a bar called Oasis, and then I did a load of tequila shots.
You did, huh?
Seriously, then we came back and heated up like more jollof and stuff, ate, and then slept.
Did you sleep?
Yeah,
I
not me.
showed
Like
you.
the moment I hit the bed, I'm like a log, gone.
Okay.
4
Okay.
a.m. If I'm on a shoot, if I need to be up 4 a.m., I can sleep at 3 a.m.
And you
But
be
I
out
would
before.
sleep
Yeah.
like a log. 5 minutes before 4, boom, I'm up, ready to go and disturbing everybody. Okay, did you bring anything to read to us today?
I did not bring anything to read, but
But is there something that you have in your mind that because this is what I think. I think that the kind of things people read, it gives an idea as to how their minds work. It gives you an insight into, who they are. Like, who are your favorite authors? Don't tell me you don't read.
No, absolutely. I mean, I do read. Absolutely,
Oh, thank you, because
absolutely.
if not, I would have like
the
dived
hum-
over and slapped you.
The home was to the fact that there are just so many that I just cannot zero in on who my favorite author is, because I read everything and anything.
You're an eclectic kind of reader.
So I'm the kind of guy who would be in the bathroom and then pick up the container for some detergent and then read the entire.
Oh no!
Right.
Wait a minute, that's me and you both.
I'm
I
telling
do
you,
that.
I'll probably read the entire thing.
But like in places like the UK and stuff, they sell like the toilet roll with crosswords on it.
Right,
So like while you're sitting there, can like do a crossword.
Right, right.
No, but I
right.
love reading ingredients. I think it's important simply because the fewer ingredients something has, the better it is for you, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. Oh wow, you read ingredients too. Okay. So
Absolutely.
is there anything or like for instance, tell us about a book, like give us the synopsis of it or what was the last thing you read?
What was the last thing I read? I mean, currently I'm reading Obama's book.
Oh my
My
God,
girlfriend.
700 and something pages in
I'm
it.
telling you, I'm telling you, amazing stuff. By the way,
Yeah.
really amazing stuff. I'm currently reading the book. I'm probably in what, chapter 3 or 4.
But
You
of
know,
the first 3 chapters, what about it has like,
I mean, the thing
because
is,
I read Becoming
right?
by Michelle Obama.
I did too.
Absolutely. I got hardback. That's like one of the few, because usually I don't splash out money for a hardback,
Right.
but I did on this one. I'm looking forward to reading Barracks. Yeah, but what
Yeah.
was it that?
I mean, for what I think is, from the first 3 chapters, you realize that there's a universal truth in terms of the journey to becoming the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Which transcends borders,
Yep.
which transcends cultures, which transcends race. Because
Do you actually believe that there's? So I'm always trying to get people on my side on this, but I don't actually believe. I think there's just one race. It's just
I mean, absolutely, but I mean,
so.
there's
So I mean, isn't it? I mean, don't we reduce the power of that kind of erroneous thinking by, for instance, like one thing I do, like whenever I hear people saying, "Oh yeah," because when the slaves, and I always correct them and say, enslaved people,
right,
their initial state wasn't as a slave, they were enslaved. And I think language and use of words are incredibly important, and I think there are things where you have to keep on chipping away at it until we all get with the plan. Because when you come with the idea that there are different races, then you can then form hierarchies,
right.
which has already happened. I mean, that was the reason it was all set up for.
Absolutely, I do agree with you, but um, we also have to accept the fact that we have been oriented in a certain way over a certain period of time, and
But we can undo it.
it's going to take a lot of radicalization.
Yeah, and radicalization is exactly what you're all about.
Right.
What's it? You're as a conduit for positive radicalization. Yeah. So why can you do it in animation, but we cannot do it in correcting people? I mean, because you're not accepting the status quo. You're always pushing the boundaries, and we got to do it on every front.
Right, right. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm doing it.
Yes, you are.
I'm a living epitome of radicalization in all forms and shapes. And I mean, I do condone with everything you're saying.
But
Just I mean, in terms of communication, I really wanted to emphasize that, albeit the fact that we have been segmented into races, there's a universal truth that applies to us all. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I mean, in the context of what you were saying, we are all one race, but there has been some form of segmentation
yeah.
that
To create a
is
caste system.
exact to create a class system, as well as to alienate a certain group of people and try to shape the narrative of that group of people through clandestine means, you
Yes,
know?
yes.
Right. But the bottom line is, although these things do exist, we all have that, there's that universal thing that applies to us all. And these things transcend every single hurdle that has been created.
Yeah.
And that is like Obama's story, literally. I mean, when you read the first 3 chapters, it's so evident in there that with all the hurdles that has been created for him as a black man
Yeah.
in a nation that enslaved his race in quotes for over 400 years, then you'd realize
And
that
still does it just manifests in a different way through the commercialized prison system where you
Right.
and even the education system, because when young black kids are being excluded from a young age or being punished with suspensions and put in detention, and you're already starting the journey in marching them to the final destination, which is for them to be locked up.
Right, right, absolutely. And I mean, when we decide to extend the conversation to even our domain, which is Africa, and you'd realize that there's that deliberate attempt to shape the mindset of the younger generation in a certain way. I mean, you see all these guys coming into our spaces and are trying to invest in our young people, and then you're asking yourself,
Why?
why, why?
Because
You
no,
know,
there is no such thing as a free lunch.
exactly. And then you ask yourselves, why aren't the African leaders investing in the young people? Why do we have all these guys coming in and saying, putting together all these fanciful programs and saying that, oh, we are projecting that Africa by whatever time is I mean, we have a youth bulge and blah blah blah, and that can lead to instability, and because of that we need to invest in the young people and trying to cajole our governments to engage them on such programs. And you're asking yourselves that why can't we take that initiative on our own?
Yeah.
Why don't we invest in our own young people?
Yeah,
You
because
know?
I mean, Africa has the youngest population.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. I mean, for me, it's very disheartening when I think about it. And I hope that a lot more young people could take initiative and begin to occupy absolute environments that belong to them. And when we all own and try to control our absolute environments, then we have all these amalgamation of real control.
Yeah.
Then we can shape our own narrative.
Yes, because that's really important. In fact, our proverb today was, until the lion tells his side of the story, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter.
The hunter, absolutely.
Yeah. Farming. Okay, so no, I mean, we will get to the animation, but you just mentioned something. I did an interview with somebody at the World Bank yesterday.
Right.
And agriculture is like seen as the green gold of Africa. And obviously youth and women particularly face unemployment and underemployment. But what I really like is the fact that a lot of young people are going into agriculture and innovating it. So for instance, like Cosmos has the KIC challenge,
Right.
where and do you agree that that's the future?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Like you were saying as well. I was having a conversation a couple of days ago with some co-equals, and the conclusion is just the same. Agriculture is definitely the future in terms of the ability for it to employ the young people, to create, innovate, as well as create industry.
Yes.
The industrialization agenda cannot
Which
be.
I think the government has mentioned something about that recently.
Right. I mean, but absolutely. But the truth is that when it comes to Africa and our governments, Ghana not excluded, everything is just superficial dressing.
Yeah.
Even in terms of real investments for us to spur industrialization. You're trying to create
large-scale farming.
Exactly.
I mean, the sort of private-public
partnerships,
partnerships.
right?
Yeah.
So you cannot decide to create an industry by investing in areas where you think politically might be favorable. You have to be very holistic about such strategic investments, and we have leadership that are only looking at the short-term political gains. So
Yes,
you're developing
4
a
years.
strategy for an industry, and your strategy is such that you need to win an election in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
So in the end, you have a vicious cycle of strategy that do not create a panacea to the problem.
There's no means to an end.
Exactly.
Basically.
There's no means to an end. And it's really sad. And I pray that private sector really comes into these spaces and creates meaningful projects that can catalyze industrialization properly.
Yeah.
Because if you tackle one end of the seven-headed beast and then
And leave the six to get on with it.
Exactly.
It's a lost
Yeah,
cause.
it's a lost
cause.
right.
Okay. The agricultural thing is exciting for me, but I do know that it's the
interestingly,
animation.
if we decide to delve into agriculture, we're just going to keep going on and on and
Do you
on
know, because I was really excited because I went to a farm in the eastern region, another green gold farm,
right.
and I met these young guys, 21 years of age, comes in his amazing pickup, and he picks out this huge drone, and it's for crop spraying and whatnot. And I do a little interview with him. I'm looking at this kid. I'm like, damn, you're 21. And he's gone and gotten like huge funding from Dubai somewhere. And he's doing amazing things with
Right.
his team. And for me, it was like, man, this is what our future should look like. Because it's just so exciting to see the passion, the innovation. It was like really, I was like, man, I wish I was you.
Yeah. But you see, I mean, guys like the person that you met are few and far between, because the story doesn't cut across board when it comes to the agricultural sector. Funding is a real issue
Yes.
for a lot of entrepreneurs within the space, and being sustainable in the context of having a lot of structures that allows you to be sustainable is also a very real threat to the space. So you have all these entrepreneurs who are really excited to get into the agricultural space, and then somewhere down the line, they eventually decide to quit, mainly because it's very frustrating being in the space.
Are you still
Yeah.
in the space?
I am still in the space. I've been doing that for I've been doing agriculture for like 6 years. I've been animating for probably like 7-8 years, you know.
So what got you into farming? And let
So-
me just say agriculture, because farming is a
Right.
very small part of.
So there's the whole thing about digital solutions. That's
Yes.
what got me there.
Uh-huh.
You know, I mean, you're even within the context of animation, it's the fact that I'm able to provide a certain content which can radicalize mindsets. It's a digital solution to a problem which is endemic in our continent, which is we need to reshape the way we think.
Evolve psychologically.
Exactly. We need to evolve psychologically, you know, and it's that same digital mindset that I took into the agricultural space, where I believe firmly that we can use digitizing of the space as a means to radicalize how agriculture can be innovative, and we can increase the potential of agriculture within our spaces, you know. So, I mean, my firm that is within the space is actually an agri-tech firm. It's not just, we're not just growing crops, but we are trying to collect all this data, and then we are trying to analyze that data.
All this is incredibly important.
It is. It
It's
is. It
incredibly
is. It
important.
is. You know, and you have all these people within the space, and we don't have readily available data.
Yes.
So people are not taking informed decisions within the space.
Like
You know,
weather patterns and things like
right?
that.
Like how is the market trend going?
Yes.
When COVID hit, you know, a lot of the regular stuff that were being imported in the country was curtailed.
Yes.
So mainly because trading routes were halted in some areas, and
Yes.
then other things happened. So you ask yourself, that was there readily available information for farmers to understand that you need to increase production at this particular point in time, you know? And did some of the regular markets know that there are farmers that exist in different spaces where they could fund these farmers and try and build capacity for these farmers to go ahead and then grow to meet some of these extra demands, you know? And you
Yeah.
know, interestingly, COVID actually gave us an opportunity
Yes.
to do a lot of things and shake up the entire space in different areas. But you know how it is in this country. We didn't take advantage of it.
Because I read, for instance, like entrepreneurs, there were people who are working like jobs, you know, you're in a job, okay, I'm doing my job, but I'm passionate about this. And COVID was what gave them the inspiration and the opportunity to step out and do something on
Right.
their own. And I think, you know, you hear the word pandemic and you know, thinking that everything about it is negative, but it's something that can really shake people up
Right.
and take steps in directions where previously they might have been scared to go, but you know, it could have.
Yeah, it could have done so many things. Let me just give you a very typical example. You know, Ghana imports about 97% of our ethanol.
What is ethanol?
Ethanol is alcohol basically.
And okay, so we
Yeah, so
import 90%.
7%, 97% of our ethanol in this country, and ethanol is used for all the alcoholic beverages, the local ones.
Yes.
So from Sarpei Kwadey to Gihawk to all these guys, and one of the food derivatives that can produce ethanol is cassava, you know, and it's cheaper. It's a cheaper alternative to using maize to produce ethanol. And cassava grows everywhere in Ghana, basically, depending on the soil type. And you're asking yourself that when COVID hit, the only ethanol factory in Ghana that processed cassava into ethanol was in the Volta region, right? And all the companies that were buying ethanol ran to that company and said, you know what, we need ethanol. Can you give us ethanol this quantity?
And they didn't have the capacity.
They didn't have the capacity, and these guys were paying advance and saying that I'm going to give you X amount of money, keep the money, so that when you produce, sell to me, don't sell to anyone.
Yeah.
And you're asking yourself that with COVID and the situation and the opportunity that it presents, it was easy to then fund multiple industry and say that, why don't we duplicate what has been done? Why don't we replicate it in other areas in Ghana here, so that by the time COVID is over and gone, we are doing 50% of our ethanol needs locally. And that transcends to a lot of jobs being created. That translates into import substitution. So many other things.
And money staying in
the country. So, but that didn't happen. COVID is almost gone, and we're still here. Yeah.
So now we've come to the main course. Like if we're having a meal, we've come to the main course. You've heard him. You've heard his knowledge on agriculture, digital stuff. I mean, we could have stayed on agriculture and he would have educated us really, 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 really well. But I'm going to kick this off. I'm going to read something that I picked up online. Indigene Bros.
Right.
Team, yeah? So they said it has been reiterated over and over again a need to tell our own stories in Ghana, Africa, through visual spaces as a conduit for positive radicalization of mindset and increase of self-worth. In representing the Indigene Bros team, I spoke about our strategy in playing a deliberate role in using animation as a tool to ignite a psychological evolution that will ultimately push a collective mindset of self-worth and sufficiency for growth and development. Visual media has been used as a propaganda tool by different powers across the world. It's not a regular phenomenon to see the West creating a particular type of content during certain times. It's quite deliberate to shape narratives and invoke specific emotional responses. Captain America as a comic was created to make enlisting into the US State Army attractive to potential recruits and has since been used as one of the most powerful propaganda machinery for American patriotism. Ghana, Africa, has very powerful stories to tell and need to be told by our visual artists. This will help shape the collective consciousness for development we keep wishing for. And then there was another piece. We use illustration and animation as a tool to effect change. We tell the rich culture and indigenous stories of Africa through strong and bold visuals. So now tell me, how did this come about? Talk about that journey. How did that come about? Because this is really powerful, and it's not something that you would think about if you thought of animation.
I wrote to myself, so.
But
I wrote that.
But when you were listening to it, I bet you were thinking,
I'm like
wow, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So what? You want to talk about the journey into the animation space?
Yes. How did and then the other thing is, I think in our part of the world, things like animation and cartoons are seen as the preserve of children.
Yeah.
But it's also a very effective tool for adults. And so why animation? Because when we talk about effecting change, people tend to think of policy and, this and that and that kind of thing. But this visual arts medium, I mean, where you just got up one day and you thought, Charlie, let's change the world through animation. What?
it's a very interesting story for me when it comes to the visual art space and the opportunity it presents. So when I was in high school, I had a very good friend. His name was Peter Oti Kofi Asamoah. These days he goes by the name Poker.
The one who does all the Aquaba.
Yes.
Aquaba. Yeah. Okay.
When I was in high school, that's my very good friend. He's my partner as well. So, what he did when we were in school was he was a visual arts student, and when boys were writing letters to their girlfriends in other schools, he had a very interesting way of putting an artwork on the envelope of the letter, and he put all these like very interesting artwork on these envelopes that would communicate the intended content of the letter to the person before the person actually opens the letter.
Okay.
And the
Creative.
feedback we got from the girls in the rest, like, oh. So one time, a friend of mine, I was going to write a letter to a friend of mine, and I called her back in the day. We're using phone booths.
Why don't you just say girlfriend? This is a
Well,
friend of mine, one of your girlfriends.
Well, and I go to the phone booth, and then we used to use like phone cards,
Yes.
and phone booths. So you call the other phone booth because you have the number.
And they'll be waiting.
They'll be waiting by phone booth for the phone booth to ring, in the other school. So I did that, and then she's like, oh, Sap, Sap, if you're going to write me a letter, make sure that guy in your school that's the design, because I'm going to look cool if I receive a letter of the sort, I'm like, okay. So, I mean, Poker was obviously my very good friend, and then he did that. And then we came home, and then the girl and I spoke about other things, and then she was telling me about some of the things that go on when these girls receive letters with the illustrations and whatnot, and the kind of imprint, the way these designs have on the mindset. So I'm like, yo, I mean, there's more to this, So Poker and I started creating content for our schools. There was this news blog thing that we put on the wall.
So this was 2D, right?
This was just illustrations
okay.
on regular paper. And, you draw stuff, and we create all this content, different stories, different things, and we just put it there, and people were interacting with the content.
Do you know Aram?
Yeah, Aram is he's a good friend.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, he's in the space. He's tried to cajole me to get into gaming and other things.
Yes, because I edited his autobiography.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's how I met him.
He's
And
an
the
amazing
stuff
guy.
he's doing. Yeah, he's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, amazing guy. I mean, he did. I think I met him through the Yali spaces before even we got into the creative spaces. After he did Mandela, he's a Mandela Washington Fellow. So
yes, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then after school, went to the same university, and then we started having a conversation on creating content and also trying to create business out of creating content.
Yeah, because you can't die of
Exactly.
starvation and be doing pretty pictures.
Yeah, we went back and forth at it, and then eventually when we're done with school, then we started Poker Studios. So Poker is my partner at Poker Studios, and then
And was it feeding you?
was the business feeding us?
Yes.
So we developed a business model eventually, and went into 2D animation.
Yeah.
And then we started creating all these like 2D stuff, and then creating all these content, and then we decided that we're going to go into commercialization of the whole animation thing. And what we did was we started creating corporate content using animation. And then we wrote proposals to all these corporate entities and said, we can do XYZ for you, blah, blah, blah. And then some of them responded to us, started creating content for people like Stanbic Bank,
Okay.
Access Pensions, and a host of other companies. And when we started doing that, we realized that there's real potential and then we evolved different forms of evolution. And I realized that, hey, there's a need to grow an industry. There's a need to bring a lot more people together and create something that is bigger than us all.
Because, I mean, Captain America has a huge impact. I mean, to create something like that that moves legions of people.
You have no idea,
Yeah.
And you see, the thing is, what people don't understand is the reason why when you're having an interview and there's a backdrop, all these logos exist behind there, is the moment the eye picks it up, it goes straight to the mind.
Yeah, straight into the brain, yeah.
Exactly. So something very insignificant, but would shape the way you see something else on a different day. So that happened, and then in pushing the agenda for a bigger picture, then we started Indigene Bros.
Okay.
Where we brought more artists on board. Shout outs to my partners, Neo Fair. Shout outs to Toby. Shout outs to Ravi. All these other guys. And you bring all these guys on board, and we decided to push a certain agenda. Because we realized that it's so important for us to be able to tell our stories in the most unique way. I mean, one of the things that when I think about saddens me is, Ghana as a country back in the day, the citizenry were so patriotic for some reason, and when you even put in the context of our football, when Ghana plays football back in the day, I was telling a group of people that their entire country comes to a halt.
Yes.
I would sit and be watching football with my dad, and my mom used to work at the bank, so the bank, assuming that she picks us up, the driver picks us up from school, and then we go into the banking hall, waiting for her to finish up so we leave. The entire banking hall comes to a halt. Everyone's
neck is glued to the
like,
TV.
What is happening? And when Ghana scores a goal, everyone comes out in unison, celebrating Ghana.
Go
all over the place. Like,
yeah.
Yo, Ghana show. I used to watch boxing matches or boxing bouts with my dad when Azuma used to fight. And people would stay up
People would travel to London to go find their money and travel to London to go and watch.
People stay up at 3 a.m. People that didn't have food, didn't eat the night before going to bed.
But is it because? Because I think the other thing too is when you have to put in an effort, that means changing something about yourself.
Right.
There's an awful lot. There's work involved in that. Whereas football, there's not really that much demanded of you, like that internal journey that you have to take. So I think things like football and sports really exciting because you can go, you can have your fun, but how it shapes your mind, I think, is slightly different from what you guys are trying to do with the animation.
Right, absolutely. But you see, there's the connection. The connection is like
that we can get people to do this.
Right, absolutely. I mean, Mandela used football to unite a nation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that was he used rugby to unite a nation. Sports, sports in general is a powerful tool.
Yes.
To do so many things. People have lost elections because of a football match. I'm telling you.
People have been killed because they missed a goal.
Exactly. Different things have happened because of sports. But the bottom line is that when you juxtapose the Ghana now that we have, as opposed to the Ghana then, you realize that there were patriotic values that transcended in the core values that exist in us as people.
Yes.
So if you believe in Ghana, you're not litter. If you believe in Ghana, you would be your brother's keeper.
Yes.
If you believe in Ghana,
you will not steal from the nation.
Exactly. Like there were different things that were happening mainly because people were naturally patriotic. So one of the first projects that we embarked on was a project called the Patriot Initiative. You know, where we looked at like different themes that embodies patriotism in Ghana, and we try to create content around it. You know,
Where was that content being shown?
so we took it to film festivals, different film
Okay.
festivals. I was telling Gloria that I wish we could have put a content online for everyone to see, but we haven't
Because
put
you
it.
have the Azuma,
Yeah, we have the Azuma, the
and
Ghanaian
then I
hero.
believe in Ghana.
Right.
Tell me, one of the things is you came late, so our time is like crazily running, but I'm still going to scritch another 20 minutes
Please do.
extra so that what okay, so my background is a film is as a filmmaker, so there's a process. So something like the Azuma animation, what's the process? What happens? You get an idea, because obviously in filmmaking you get an idea, you have a concept, you write a script, and then you go through production, and then you have the film or the TV program at the end of it. When it's animation, so like use the Azuma, the Ghanaian hero, and talk us through the process of where it starts till the final product that we then watch at festivals or on TV or wherever.
Okay, so the thing is, first of all, I mean, Azuma as a personality is a brand.
Yes.
You cannot create content on someone without having that expressed permission to do so. So we had conversations with Azuma's manager and then his team and whatnot, and then we told them what we're trying to do, you know, and our strategy was that we're going to create under the Patriot Initiative. One of the themes was that we're going to create content that invoked the spirit of patriotism from the perspective of a Ghanaian hero or a patriot hero,
Okay.
you know, which is so key. Azuma's story is very interesting. Let me just digress a little bit and come back to the point. Azuma, his first international bout happened at a time where Ghana was a lot of people were hungry. Basically, there was famine in Ghana, and at the time
What year would that be?
that was 1982.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
in 83 was the famine.
Okay.
So in 82, at that time, everyone was like really hungry. Things weren't going well in the country. And you see, when Azuma was fighting at the time, he knew these things that were happening back home in Ghana. And Azuma committed to using himself as an inspiration to all the people that were watching him and saying that I belong to Ghana. If you watch Azuma's fights, constantly he kept saying that I belong to Ghana. I am Ghanaian. This is where I'm from. And I believe my people XYZ, you know. And his life as a patriot inspired a lot of people to toe that route. You know, you go to different places. I don't know about your experience, but a friend of mine had a very interesting experience where he was in Indonesia and had issues with immigration. And then they had to call in an immigration boss, and then the immigration boss comes in, and then the issue was something that could be looked over. But the guy was black,
Yes.
and they felt like, you know, they needed to go further into the issue. But when the immigration boss came in and then took the guy's passport, he said, "Oh, you're Ghanaian." "Oh, no, he's Ghanaian. He's fine," you know. And says that, and the conversation went into, "Oh, do you know Stephen Appiah? Do you know Asamoah? You know?"
Do you know what? I had the same situation. I went to Afghanistan some
Right.
years back, and an Afghan person I'd met was taking me out. So we went to the center of town, and of course, it like osmosis. It just flew around. There's a black person. So people were jumping out of their shops, and all of a sudden I was surrounded by all these people, and this man strodes over and he says, "Hello, how are you?" So I said, "I'm fine." And of course, the people are impressed because he's communicating with me. And he said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Ghana." He said, "Ghana, Black Stars." Michael Essien. Reading off the name. And then he does a quick translation. Also, everyone's happy. And, you know, I don't know anything about football. But the moment the name Black Stars dropped, it was like a completely different, you know, it was like, it became a really exciting.
Right. And you see, I mean, these examples show how we as Ghanaians, we should embody brand Ghana everywhere we go. It's so key and so important. You know, America has become, I mean, right now things are in, in tatters right now, but the truth is the reason why America exerts so much soft power over the world is mainly because they've succeeded in branding themselves in a certain way.
Specifically through the
Through
media.
music, through whatever, all forms of media.
Yeah.
You know, if Jay-Z produced a song about New York and you listen to it and there are visuals on New York and all these bright lights
like,
and
you wanna go
concrete
there.
jungle, you're like, oh, I want to be in New York. You know, I'm definitely going to New York. You know, and you have all these young people coming up and like, where do you want to go? I want to go to New York.
New York, yeah.
You know, it's really deliberate.
Yeah.
They know what you're doing, you know. So the point being that
And even like the fact that every movie an American flag needs to pop up somewhere in the movie.
I mean, there's a school of thought that even the national, the different forms of security agencies deliberately fund Hollywood to produce certain movies. You know, I cannot speak
But
to.
that's understandable.
No, it is. It is absolutely.
Understandable.
It is, and I wish we could think like that too.
But then we also, when we have those in charge who only see the media as a propaganda tool, as opposed to because something like the television was actually created as an educational tool, as a way
was.
to educate a mass of people.
Mm.
But then, it's more like it's now being used for the stupidification of the people, for
Yep.
people, throwing. I mean, our TVs are washed with Indian telenovelas. Like, really?
Absolutely. And Nkrumah had that kind of mindset
Yes.
when he set up even NAFTI to start with.
True.
You know, he had a kind of mindset of how can you create content so that our people can understand what development means.
Yes.
Can toe the line of we want to develop our country together. That collective interest. That is the kind of mindset. That is why back in the day when a coup happens, the first place they try to take over
Is the TV
is the
station,
TV
and
station.
the radio station.
Right.
Okay.
You know, but let me go back to the content
Yeah,
question.
okay. So I was wanting to take you back to, you've spoken to Azuma's team. You've spoken to his management. You've laid out your idea, and then they give you the go ahead.
Right. So prior to that, we had read a book, a biography of Azuma.
So you did all your pre-production research.
Pre-production stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I led a team. Then we had a script. You know, we had a writer that came in. You know, and then we put together a script, and we had to go through the process of auditing the script over and over again, showing to different people what do you think about what we are trying to do.
Yes.
You know, this is the communication, the intended communication. Do you see it implicit in the script? You know, and all these people gave us
So obviously it
feedback.
goes through lots of edits, lots of people look at it.
Right, they
So
do.
from that talking to your script being approved, what's the duration of time on that?
Usually about 2 to 3 months.
That's actually quite fast.
Yeah, 2 to 3 months. I mean, first of all, it's a short film.
Yeah.
13 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and within that 13 minutes, we decided to talk about Azuma's story from that perspective, from the perspective of his first fight and the fact that he lost, and how that connects to Ghana's patriotism, and how that how that elevated Azuma through different hurdles to become Africa's
Champion.
greatest boxer ever.
Oh, yeah.
You know, before he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Within that 13 minutes, that's the only thing he wanted to tell. That's the only story he wanted to tell.
I suppose we as a people, we really don't celebrate
You have.
high achievers very well. do
It's
we?
crazy.
It's always the mediocre. It's like the tyranny of the mediocre.
When Azuma goes outside the shores of Ghana, people lie on the floor for Azuma. People say, champ! Like, people holler at Azuma like he's a god. And I'm not saying that he is, but the truth is, when we begin to celebrate these people in a certain way, then we are beginning to create tacit role models for the young generation. People to look up to. Because, I mean, Abraham Lincoln or George Washington, all these guys had multiple flaws, but they've been projected in a certain way that when the young mind is growing up in the United States of America, they're like, I want to be like
Yeah,
George
the
Washington.
hunter is still telling the story.
Exactly. You know? So how do we project in Nkrumah? How do we project all these other guys in a way where we project their positive side? I mean, when you grow up to that level where your cognitive ability develops in a certain way, you can decipher between what is right and what is wrong. But at that young and tender age, you need someone to look up to that can shape that narrative that is happening in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But can our leaders have what it takes to invest in the creative industry for us to...
If it's not to their benefit.
Right. I mean, absolutely. And it has to be a national agenda.
But again, people would probably... You talked about patriotism. People have different ideas of what that actually means.
Absolutely.
You understand? Because you can see, I mean, I had a day I was in traffic, this huge 4x4 vehicle, tinted windows in front of me. The window rinds down and kebab sticks and plastic fly out. And I got out of my car and I went and picked the rubbish and I knocked on that car's window and I said, please, you've dropped something. And I put it back into his car. He had a Ghana flag in there. And I told him off about littering the environment. And he started, and I said, you people, you claim you are patriotic, but what you are doing, what's patriotic about that? I think people don't even understand what patriotism really means.
And you know, the interesting thing is when we begin to tell our stories and use some of these tools to tell the stories in a certain way,
then they can start defining it for
exactly,
people.
You know?
So your script is done. What's the next stage?
So the script is done, then we begin to create the characters. We do the characterization, and that's where I come in. You know, I do the preliminary sketches here and there, and then...
And is it on sketches on paper, or is it a program?
So we everything is digital these days. You know, sometimes we would create some of these characters on regular sheets, mainly because we want to be able to go through the different iterative stages of shaping up the character before we digitize it.
Okay.
But everything is on a huge digital surface. You know, we draw everything
And what are some of the softwares that people use?
I mean, Animate Pro. You know,
that's like professional.
Yeah. You can use Animate Pro. Adobe has all these like software, even regular Photoshop. You know, can be used for illustrative purposes.
Yes.
Yeah.
An Illustrator.
Right, and even Illustrator as well.
Yeah.
So we use all these software and then we create the content, you know, and we create the characters. And when we're done creating the characters, then we establish the storyboards. And in the storyboard, I mean, you're familiar with production, so we decide to we shape how the story will be told visually.
Okay.
By using the storyboard. So
yes, we do
the
that
kind
too.
of angles that we're going to shoot the cameras from. I mean, we're going to POVs, you know, for the different scenes. We're going to establish that within the storyboards. You know, the action sequences.
Yes.
You know, everything has to be established within the storyboards. When we have a finalized storyboard, then we begin to do the voiceover recording. So we record the entire voiceover. You know, we have voice artists that we train, and all these guys come in and then we record. And then afterwards, when we are done recording the voiceover, then we create an animatic. An animatic is the preliminary stage of creating the animation, you know. And when we are done creating the animatics, we can decide to lay it over the voiceover. So
okay.
Then we have like the preliminary look and feel of how the project is going to be looking like.
Yeah.
You know, and at that stage...
By this time, have you colored and everything?
No.
Okay.
No. So we can actually still make changes here and there.
Okay.
And then get it right. So when we are done with that stage and we think that it's solid enough, then we can go to the next level of actually animating.
Oh! Okay.
So the animatics is like the first stage of animation. So we do like the proper animation where we create the initial and end sequences as well as the in-between sequences, you know, using the different softwares available.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then and so by this point, will all your close-ups and all those things already be part of the...
Right. And then we begin to color and then whatnot. And
So
then
are there people whose job it is specific? Because you know when you watch like the animations from abroad, you see like the colorists, and there'll be like 10,000 people down there.
that conversation you don't want to have. So interestingly, kudos to all the creative guys in Ghana. Shout outs to every single person out there who is creating content here in the motherland, mainly because we don't have the resources, but we're doing it.
Because I
You
saw
know?
I watched a video where Stormzy, that he was wearing that bodysuit
Right,
and
right.
everything. Yeah.
You know,
But-
I mean that's like real high tech.
Yeah.
That's used for 3D.
Yeah.
You know, but here locally, you'd realize that one artist in your studio is the person creating the backgrounds, is the
Everything.
person doing like some of the in betweens, coloring. You know, so one person is doing like the job of 4 different people. You know, and that's how we
it's
should.
time consuming.
It's
as
time consuming. You see, the thing is, it takes you every second of 2D animation. You need a replication of about 25 to 27 images.
Yes. Yes, because in film it's like 24, 25
Yeah,
frames per second.
exactly. So you have to replicate the drawings.
And then the little move, however
so,
you can move within a second.
You know,
yeah.
when I move this way, I need to replicate the in-betweens till I get to this point.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a lot of work that goes into
So
it.
do you then do the finishing points first before you do the in-betweens? Or do you do it in a chronological order?
You know where you have to know
Where
your
you're
starting
ending,
point, and you have to know where you're headed.
And before you
begin to put in the in-betweens.
In-betweens.
Right. You know, so it's a lot of work. But
Yeah.
the thing is that the Ghanaian creative guys are just amazing people.
No, because they're wearing like 10,000
I'm
hats.
telling you. And these days,
And then of course there's no funding.
that is another bit of the conversation. You know, a typical thing in relation to my story is after we're done creating Azuma, then trying to distribute and then get it out there and actually making sure that we are able to recoup some of the monies that we
Like
put
to
into the
monetize
production.
it, yeah.
Monetize it somehow was a challenge.
Yeah.
You know, it's now that
I think there's a problem, a challenge facing like the average African artist, whatever the discipline is.
right.
You know, there's always that challenge about how do you monetize, how do you get funding, how do you get, you know, what it needs to take you to the next level. Because I'm exactly in that hole at the moment. So.
Yeah. And you know the interesting thing, this thing cuts across all our industry, mainly because we do not look at the industry from a value chain perspective.
True.
We're always looking at it from the production perspective. Okay, you're an artist. Oh, your work is dope. You do some incredible stuff. But then there's the artist, there's the marketer, there's the distributor, there's the end user,
The consumer.
there's the consumer, you know. So can you have all these guys, other people come into the space whose specific job is to do X, Y, Z? You know, if it's a marketer or the person is a distributor, can the person come in the space and connect these artists to the right markets
Literally,
and
it's
the right
same,
spaces?
It's the same issues in agriculture.
Exactly. You know, that's why I said it's across board.
It's across board.
It's across board, you know. And when we even talk about animation, we think we have an industry, but painfully we don't.
What do we
don't.
have an industry in?
With nothing, actually.
there.
Nothing. You know? And you see, the way you were talking about the fact that there's a production and then you see all these colorists, director of photography, blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
You know?
Even director. And I wonder how, like, what does the person do to direct it? Because I think of it in a filming sense, and I wonder how that works in animation.
I mean, people tend to evolve. So me, for example, these days, the last time I ever did like proper creating of content was about 2 years ago.
So what do you do
You know,
now?
right now I'm a producer. I
You
produce the
produce
content
the
now.
content.
There are all these young guys who are dynamic, and you are able to communicate your ideas to them and say that this is how we want the project to be looking like. So you can play the role of a supervisor in a way where you feel like there's something that you need to bring your experience to bear, then you can actually produce it. You can actually work on it. But if there's no need,
Then there are
then
others to do it.
there are others to do it.
So do you train people?
Yes, we do. So we actually have an initiative called the Indigene Initiative. Specifically, what that does is we are embarking on different projects that is supposed to create other value chain actors within the space. We're trying to pioneer the space. We have other guys out there doing different things, but we feel like under the context of limited by guarantee, then we can bring other people on board because it's a non-profit, and then we can together train people, build capacities here and there, so that those people can fill in the void. Because we don't have an industry, there are a lot of guys that come out of NAFTI and end up working at the bank.
Yes. So if somebody is interested
Yeah.
in training to be an animator, how do they get in touch with you?
They can just go into any of our socials and just send a
Well,
message.
tell us what your socials are.
Okay, so the person can go into Instagram. It's Indigene Bros, Indigene BROS, the same as Facebook as well. And then just send us a message on there, and we are going to respond, and then we're going to interact. Because we take on interns, right? That work with us, and then we take on people that have the potential to work with a team, and then train them. There's a specific program where we will train you, and then you can work with us for probably 2 to 3 years. If you want to leave afterwards,
Then
you can leave,
okay.
yeah.
So you invest, and then of course they get experience. So when
Right.
they move on to the next
Right,
bit. So the Azuma, you said it's how long? 13 minutes.
13 minutes
From beginning to end, how long did it take
to produce.
to produce?
About 7 months.
7 months. I mean, that's still a long time, really.
No, it is. And the truth is, it took us 7 months because we started a project and it got to a certain point, and then I told them that, we could do better than this. Let's scrap the whole thing.
Oh, so you restarted.
Yeah,
And
after
then you went.
almost 2.5 months.
Then you went to film festivals. So what awards have those has?
I mean, we've won awards. First of all, Azuma was officially selected for Annecy.
You okay?
Annecy is the biggest animation film festival in the world that happens in France. And we are the first ever West African animation studio to be selected for Annecy.
Wow.
So kudos to us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Slow clap.
Yeah, kudos to us. So we've won awards there. We won an award at the recent Black Star International
Your
Film
film
Festival.
festival.
We won an award at the Kim Film Festival in the US. We've won an award with MTN for productions. We've won.
When will Azuma be on TV?
So the goal was that.
Because I mean, ultimately, because you have a thing about changing mindsets.
The goal is.
And how does it reach us? If it's at film festivals, then how does it impact the average
So-
Ghanaian?
The goal is you produce content, you monetize the content so that you can use that money that's generated to
To produce more
push the content
Yeah.
across different
Because I
platforms.
mean that this is the kind of things where TV stations should say, you know what, let's just put it on.
Yeah, but it's sad. They
Because
would not
they want money.
exactly.
Yeah.
And interestingly, we're having conversations with different government institutions and saying that, you know what, why don't you partner us and let's push this together? Wouldn't it be nice if Azuma was just screening in all public schools?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that. I believe in Ghana animation as well, but
No,
you
I've
know,
read about it, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
I mean, you're done watching that content and then it gives you goosebumps.
Yeah, because it also ignites your brain to,
Exactly.
get into.
And the bottom line is that if we could collaborate with all these guys and then put it out there, we would have taken to film festivals for recognition, which is important, but we wouldn't still be pushing because we're trying to get it on Netflix,
Yeah.
and wouldn't be pushing to get it on Netflix, would have just put it out there for everyone to see it if we had real partnerships,
Yeah.
because it's the real partnerships that can push us to continue to produce more content,
Yeah.
but like you keep saying,
it's a process.
yeah.
It's a process. Oh, Charlie, listen. Whew, we've run over by 30 minutes and we could go on and on and on, but we are not. So it has been a huge pleasure.
Bama!
Thank you for coming.
Thank you too
and
for having
also,
me.
my listeners, thank you for listening. And like, there's a whole bunch of other stuff we could unpack, but listen, check out their social media, check out their work, try and see some of the animation, and let's hope that it radicalizes you in a positive way. I have learned a lot of new things. It's given me a different perspective from what my field is.
We are now entering championship. Fifth round, but he's still going strong.
Sorry. Over the Hamigalo.
Going to keep surprising us tonight.
No more like a chimo go me. Schedule go to Tomoko for the was a best I call Jane Shaggy Ubano. A lot of trouble. It's come to fight. Anna. Hey, ni yabia ni mama malakele ni majino.
Entry, Inkpofai, no fear no ni baba. Come on, you jubae. Fame no ba sheshe.
2, 3.
You don't really wanna go there. You for know they won't go there. I'm really on my I don't care. You for know they won't go there. You don't really wanna go there. You for know they won't go there. I'm really on my I don't care.
I've been patiently waiting to find that magic sensation. Put some depth to my fears and all black dress for the occasion.
Damn diggity.